If you'd like to purchase Magic Online cards at competitive prices, check out our web store at mtgoacademy.com/store.
It is time to draft, and I opened pretty much the best rare you can think of in this format. Silence the Believers is pretty crazy, considering that it deals with everything that your opponent can muster, and you also get the auras or the bestow creatures on that creature. So I'm definitely taking that. There's Nightmarish End, which is not as bad as I first thought. Freaker's Chosen, of course, Death Touch being good. Sigil Starfish, my favorite common in this set. And then for the aggressive options, maybe the Blade Tusk Boar, but that's pretty much it when it comes to the good playables. A blue one, a black one, a red one, and then the black removal spell. So taking Silence the Believers is not sending the best signals, especially if I want to go into blue-black. But maybe white-black control is a good option after this first pick, and of course I'm still not locked in into any of those colors. Even black is of course still a color that I can move out of. Bearer of Heavens is too expensive to be really good. Thassa's Ire is actually better than I thought as well. Only costs a single mana, and then you can just leave open 4, later 8 to trigger Inspired and do just some, I don't know, a small Sunstorm impression, but you get to keep it up during the course of the game. I don't think it's a super high pick or anything. It's just that it has proven to be a bit better than I first thought. I like Eagle of the Watch and Oresco Swiftclaw in white. I like Magma Spray, clearly just a good card. And the remaining cards I'm not too fond of. The Fond of Fertility, Lucrocoda, Aerial Formation, all don't excite me too much. Disciple of Deceit is only okay. I don't think it's a high pick at all. Magma Spray looks to be the best common here, although it doesn't really work together with Silence the Believers too well because you want to be aggressive in black-red. But it's sufficiently stronger than Eagle of the Watch or Oresco Swiftclaw that I'm just willing to take it here. And it looks like at least black is open. There's a Grim Guardian. Thoughtrender Lemia is a bit too expensive, but if you start drafting the Grim Guardian archetype, after that every enchantment is basically something that you're happy to pick up. From the cards available here, I think Riddle of Lightning is the best red card, Cloaked Siren is the best blue card, Supply Line Cranes is the best white card, and Grim Guardian is by far the best black card. I also think that Grim Guardian is better than Supply Line Cranes and better than Cloaked Siren when you compare them to the other cards that are available in the respective colors. For example, Cloaked Siren has a lot of blue cards which are better at common level, where Supply Line Cranes is arguably the best common in white, but it's not a standout card by any means. But Grim Guardian is, and you want as many of them as possible. It wouldn't be wrong to pick Riddle of Lightning here because of the potential to just draft a very removal heavy black-red deck, but I still like the Guardian better. Alright, this pack has nothing that's really great for a control deck, because Cast into Darkness is mainly good in an aggressive build, aggressive shell. The creatures are really unexciting. Gluttonous Cyclops is, well, a solid card, but it's also very expensive. I like Deserter's Quarters. This card has impressed me whenever I've played it. And I also like Interpret the Signs. If you do want to play control, then it's actually one of the best card draw spells available in my experience. So I think the decision here is between Cast into Darkness and Interpret the Signs. And because of the problem of Cast into Darkness and control decks, I'm gonna take the blue sorcery instead. And I'm still willing to move into blue-black, maybe even splashing the Magma Spray. I'm getting a pin to the earth here, and because I'm drafting a control deck, I'm very much looking to pick up cards like this. I'm probably not seeing any more Starfish, which could be a problem, but I'm not picking a card like Sigil Skink because it doesn't really fit into what I'm trying to build here. Alright, Bloodcrazed Hoplite is only okay because it doesn't really work in a control deck. It's a solid 2-drop though. Alternatively, there's Spite of Mogus, but to be honest, I'm going to be focusing on enchantment creatures, and yeah, you also have some removal in the form of enchantment, so Spite of Mogis often just doesn't deal enough damage. I think I'm just taking Bloodcrazed Hoplite for the fact that it's going to be considered a black signal if it goes around the table, and I don't want that to happen. Alright, this pack is really bad. I might just take the black card again, just to have another enchantment creature and to not pass that. I think Cruel Feeding is unplayable, Countermat is really bad, and Lightning Diadem is only so-so. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Agent here. No reason to take a non-black card, I think. And that's another Riddle of Lightning, and a pretty late one at that, so I think I have to take that here. It's better than the red creatures and all the other cards I'm not interested in, so I'm not happy about the double red, of course, but it's still all viable options to pair these colors with each other. Blinding Flare is too aggressive for my tastes, otherwise I would be happy to play it. So I'm gonna stick to black, blue and red cards and see how pack 2 develops then. Oh, Bearer of the Heavens, that would be fun. Disciple of the Seed is a bit better though. Yeah, I can't take the 8-drop here. It's not even particularly great to nuke everything if you're the control deck, so... well, if you also nuke your lands, that is. Rise of Egos is a card that I actually quite like. The one problem with it is that the mana of my draft deck is already pretty horrible. I have double black and double red. Could take the Lamaya as a 6-drop enchantment. Yeah, but that's just really bad. I like Rise of Eagles quite a bit. I think it's a bit underrated. And here it's between Watered Hulk and Deserter's Quarters, and I'm gonna take the Quarters. I said that I liked it and want to give it another shot, maybe a main deck inclusion. This is not really playable, but who knows? I might end up running this. Not that this deck is looking anything like it. Alright, time for pack 2. Interesting pack with the mythic rare Champion of Stray Souls. I don't know, not really a card that has impressed me in Limited at all. Archetype of Imagination is good, but in more aggressive decks. Bolt of Kuranos is good if you're control or aggro, so Bolt is just a really good card. Nyxspawn Eidolon is fine, but you want to have it more in a deck that's focused on winning as quickly as possible and putting out large creatures. Last but not least, there's Retraction Helix, also a card that you can't really draft easily in these kind of control decks. You won't have the targets to cast it on, you won't get any heroic triggers usually, and the problem is that you want to deal with permanents permanently rather than just bouncing them. That said, I think the pick is between Bolt of Kuranos and Champion of Stray Souls, with the Champion just giving me a good late game, I guess. This is not easy because of the mana problems that I'm expecting, but I still think that the Champion is just too weak of a card to be picked here. Alright, great white cards all around, and then I can choose from the rest. Nyxspawn Triton, Deepwater Hypnotist, and Fall of the Hammer is what I'm looking at. With the Fall of the Hammer not being a card I'm really going to use. If I draw my Bloodcrazed Hoplite, alright, but if I don't, then it's really not a card that's doing anything. As much as I like 2-drops, I think that having a couple of Bestow creatures is good, even in control decks, and this is also a 2/3 for 3, which is exactly the right amount of power and toughness that you want to hold off early attackers. Alright, there's a Servant of Timurid, which might just be the pick here, because everything else is a lot worse. Yeah, I'm just going to take that, and now we do have to look at the color of cards that I've picked so far. The Diadem is not really a thing. The Disciple is blue-black, so that is one more reason to go blue-black rather than red. On the other hand, I have Riddle of Lightning and Bolt of Kuranos in red, which would probably mean not playing any of the blue cards, which is quite costly at this point. So the decision is if I want Bolt of Kuranos, Asphyxiate, or Drown in Sorrow out of this pack. All of which are pretty good, and the red card being probably forcing me into red something and then having, yeah, pretty bad mana but a lot of removal spells. Or I take a black card and I remain open for blue-black. or black-red. This is really difficult. I think the most powerful card is Drown in Sorrow, so I'm going to take it, hoping that this will work out. The problem is that Agent of Erebos and Bloodcrazed Hoplite aren't really cards that I want to run in this build. So the amount of my black cards is actually not that much better than the blue and the red. I could have just picked a red card and gone blue-red as well. I don't know, maybe that would have been the best choice. Here, Eye Gouge is not a great removal spell, but it does act as a removal spell, whereas Fearsome Temper and Reckless Reveler are not cards that I want to run. Alright, I think I'm pretty much set into playing black at this stage. So, and I'm tending towards just pairing it with blue, because I have a bit more of a late game in blue, and also just a couple more cards. So, Sphinx's Disciple is definitely an option. I don't have the Sigil Starfish, which I usually want to have in these kind of builds. Alternatively, there's Black Oak of Odunus, which does get a bit better with Disciple of Deceit and Servant of Timurid. I think I'm just taking that. It doesn't die to Drown in Sorrow like the Disciple does, and it's actually a solid card. Oracle's Insight, yeah, I'm slamming that. That's exactly the card that I wanted to see. Weight of the Underworld, kind of sad to have to pass that, but I need some ways to generate advantage in this deck, so Oracle's Insight it is. Here I'm just gonna pick a card that I could play. It's also nice to have something to block Intimidate creatures, although when you're in black, it's less of a problem. Alright, so many good white cards and another Pillar of War. I'm just gonna take the Pillar. It doesn't make sense to hate draft anything. The white drafters are still going to get a playable card out of this. Claim of Erebos on one of my inspired creatures is of course an option. On the other hand, putting auras on my creatures and then getting punished by removal spells or anything like that is of course not really my game plan. Forsaken Drifters is really bad. I don't really want to run it, so just gonna take the claim. I don't think that I'm going to play it, but at least now I have the option. None of these cards are particularly exciting. Sanguimancy, who knows, I could draw some cards. Alright, nothing for me here. Just taking out Hold at Bay. And right now I think that red, the option to play red has pretty much passed. Lightning Volley is fun with a couple of inspired creatures, but nothing to get excited about. I don't want to have the double casting cost of Riddle of Lightning or Bolt of Karanos. And in theory, Splashing Mount Musprey is an option, but it's not something that I really want to pursue. Alright, that's it. There's a couple of nice red spells here. Blue offers Wavequest Triton and Triton Fortune Hunter. The Fortune Hunter not really great in my deck. I could target it maybe with a couple of my cards, but a 3-mana 2/2 is not what I want to be doing anyway. So also to maximize Drown in Sorrow, of course. I think that the only real option here is Wavequest Triton, with the second best option being Opaline Unicorn, or maybe even Coastline Chimera to have a blocker for flyers and another, and my first creature in the 4-drop slot actually. Yeah, I think I'm picking Wavequest Triton, hoping to wheel Coastline Chimera out of this pack. And here we see some of the more aggressive options in blue-black, all of which I'm not interested in. There's also Blood Troll Harpy, Breaching Hippocamp, and Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Oh, Omen Speaker as well. I really think that Grey Merchant is the card that I need here. It's not going to trigger for a whole lot, but it's going to give me a bit of a life cushion to work with. And it's just one of the best cards that you can pick in Theros when you're in black. I really like Omen Speaker. I think that would be my secondary option, just to have another early play. To smooth out my draws. I'm kind of hoping that it wields, even though that's kind of unlikely. I think this pick is difficult because Grey Merchant isn't going to win me the game on the spot or anything. It's more going to be put me out of burn range when my other cards are basically winning the game. You know what? I think that I have to pick Omen Speaker here because I know that early drops are going to be at a premium, and I'm also quite likely to wield something from this pack, so that I can make sure that my deck is as good as possible, even without the Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Let's hope that that works out. Could now pick Disciple of Phoenix so that I finally have a 4-drop. And what are the alternatives? Scholar of Athreos is great, even on the splash, but I don't have any fixing, so I'm not too interested in a white card at this stage. Then there is Horizon Scholar, Sealock Monster, and Breaching Hippocamp. See, the two uncommons being better than the Hippocamp. The card advantage of the Disciple is one thing, but having another fatty is, I think, on another level. My main concern is that if I pick a 6-drop here, then I'm gonna have too big of a hole between 3 and 6, so that Sealock Monster could actually be the better card to pick here. Yeah, I'm gonna take a 5-mana 5/5. And that looks like an easy Baleful Eidolon to me. There's a Pyxis of Pandemonium and a Dauntless Onslaught going around quite late. Voyaging Satyr, Time Defeat. Yeah, I'm not missing out on much. I'm getting another great 2-drop that also bestows, so yeah, happy about that. Wow, Phalanx Leader and Ordeal of Perforos. Somebody is getting a really good deck with Phalanx Leader and Dauntless Onslaught, but I'm taking Furiko's Cure here. Alright, this is getting pretty absurd. I'm not gonna start hate drafting though. Somebody's getting one of these cards anyway. We already know that there's going to be a good white deck at the table though. Between Omen Speaker and Baleful Eidolon, I think having Death Touch is pretty much the best you can do in a control deck these days. It also bestows with Ravecrash Triton, and yeah, I think it's just going to be better than Omen Speaker most of the time. And a super late Shipwreck Singer. That's a gift. Meaning that I didn't even have to pick up all these 2-drops. But of course I'm even more happy now. Here I'm happy to pick up Lash of the Whip, and I'm going to play it. Both the Fortune Hunter and the Chimera Wield. I'm gonna stick to picking the Chimera here, I think. Although I did pick up a few more bestow cards, so I now targeting the Fortune Hunter is actually not out of the question. Let's see. Baleful Eidolon costs 5. I'm not going to play the Claim or the Magma Spray. I don't think that I need to main deck the Eye Gorge. Yeah, I think I need a few more ways to generate card advantage, and the Fortune Hunter might just be that, even if it doesn't really work on defense all that well. Here my instinct is to just take Blood Troll Harpy, because I'm not trying to catch people off guard with an Ordeal, and the Blood Troll Harpy means I have more defense against flyers and a way of getting in for a few points, whereas Breaching Hippocamp doesn't really combo with my deck or anything, so I'm going to take the flyer, even though for the curve it would be nice to have a 4-drop, but a 2 toughness 4-drop just doesn't trade all that favorably. Oh yeah, Scholar of Athreos, Disciple of Phoenix, Breaching Hippocamp also in the pack. I would love to splash the Scholar, but not without any support. I don't want to just run 2 planes with nothing else, so I'm going to take the Disciple here. Like I said, Breaching Hippocamp doesn't really do it for me. Yeah, this worked out quite nicely. My mana isn't perfect, but I could maybe get away with 18 lands, although it probably don't even need to with all these cheap drops. Benthic Giant or Pyxis of Pandemonium. I don't think that this is a card that you generally want to be playing in Limited, so I'm going to take the Giant here. And Boon of Erebos and a Null. So yeah, we have a couple of sideboard cards as well. Alright, as always, I'm just gonna take everything that's in contention and then start cutting cards after sorting them. As I already said, there's going to be a lot of cards that aren't going to make it, but that's of course a good thing. We somehow managed to put draft black after all, so the Signs of the Believers is going to be great. Then we have this, which is actually a 3-drop in our deck most of the time. I like the Black Oak of Adunas somewhat, because it will allow us to trigger Inspired with the 2 Inspired creatures. that I drafted. I don't like the Blood-Crazed Hoplite. I like the Disciple and all these 2-drops here. And clearly I don't need both pillars. Bloodshot Harpy is probably fine as a way to interact with flyers. And then all the other cards look pretty sweet. And I would love to have a bit more of a late game. Not even sure if I'm going to run the Benthic Giant, but I might just do that to have enough beef at the top end. Now, I got Boon of Erebos and Elnal are sideboard cards in my opinion, and Claim of Erebos I'm not going to run. I have other ways to enable my heroic creatures and inspired creatures. So that leaves me with these spells, which are 5 removal spells and Oracle's Insight, which I'm definitely going to run. I'm basically never cutting Rise of Eagles, and Interpret the Signs is kind of what I want to be doing with this deck. So the question is, do I run Benthic Giant, do I run a main deck Deserter's Quarters, or do I want to see if it's the right matchup? And what am I willing to cut if I'm running these cards? Now, Benthic Giant gets a bit better if I have the Interpret the Signs in my deck. Deserter's Quarters costs 6, but only reveals for 2, so it's quite a bit worse in that regard. Also with the Disciple, having a couple of 6-drops could actually make a big difference, because I will be able to tutor for them. So on the other hand, having the Quarters in my deck means that I can discard a bad 2-drop to get a late game card. Although my 2-drops are all pretty sweet, so I'm not too concerned about that. Looking at the cards that are still cuttable, I think Bloodshot Harpy, Triton Fortune Hunter, and Pillar of War are the creatures that I do not absolutely need in this kind of deck. Now, the most extreme build would just be to cut all 4 of them and run an 18 land blue-black deck with 9 islands and 9 swamps, giving me pretty much perfect mana and 18 lands so that I can afford to play 4 6-drops if we count the Deserter's Quarters. Question is if this leaves me with too little defenses against what my opponents are doing. I don't really think it does. I have 2 Baleful Eidolons, I have Shipwreck Singer, I have a couple of defenders here, 1/4s, multiple 1/4s. Yeah, this should actually not be a problem. And then I kind of like having the best late game plan and justifying the 18 lands as well. If I'm running against an aggressive deck, then I can still swap some of these around and try not to be as late game oriented as this. Yeah, I think this is how I want it to be, giving me a pretty good mana base, not a big danger of flooding out, and pretty sweet deck. I like this. Of course it's missing 1 or 2 Sigiled Starfish, but otherwise I'm quite happy about it. Let's see if that works out.